Okay. God, I haven't recorded in so long, I forgot how to do this. Oh my gosh. Okay, listen, if there's dog hair on me, I live with a white dog. This is how it is. Oh my God, it has been the most beautiful fall, and I have not been anywhere on social media, on YouTube, any of it. So enjoy clips of the season. It's actually the beginning of November as I'm finally recording this video, but enjoy the beautiful fall that we had in the last month or so. My name is Rebecca. Hi, welcome if you're new here. I am a writer, I'm a painter, I'm a filmmaker. I do a lot of creative things, and I talk about the creative process and life here on my kind of baby YouTube channel. So hi, welcome. Oh my gosh, I've been away. I have been on privacy mode. My whole being has been set on privacy mode. I have just needed to step away. I don't know if it's fall. It's a combination of things, but part of it really is fall. It's the changing of the seasons. There's the feeling of death in the air, right? The leaves are falling from the trees. Things are decaying and rotting and dying, and we are going into quiet hibernation mode, at least up in the northern hemisphere. And I love fall. I love this time of year. I love November. I love December. I love getting quiet. You know, it's interesting. People talk about getting depressed going from summer into fall. And I do experience some of that with the lack of sunlight, but I also get like revved up. I don't know if it's like I go into student mode. I'm like, yes, I've got all my books and I've got my notebooks. I'm going to sit quiet with my tea by the window and watch the seasons change. And I'm just going to read forever. So I love it. I get really energized, but I have been through a funky period lately, despite loving this time of year. And there are a couple reasons for it. Some of it's been life, but some of it has just been, oh my goodness, I think that was a bald eagle. Anyway, okay, cool. Sometimes we have bald eagles here. Wow, right out my window. Moving on. I have been in the middle of some shifts creatively, like literally just getting bigger, bigger and more me, and therefore I've been experiencing some real growing pains and hiccups. And by bigger, I mean literally with my paintings, I've been painting bigger. I've typically been working on small paintings, partially just to save supplies while I continue to educate myself. And I've just been stretching. I've been stretching to bigger and bigger pieces that I'm so proud of, but it creates a lot of weird resistance that I wouldn't think I would have, but I've been experiencing it, and it's taken me forever to finish this latest piece. But yeah, the thing where you show up bigger, you're like, yeah, I deserve to take up this much space on this canvas. Yeah, I'm going to do it even if it's not exactly like what I pictured. I'm just going to go for it. And then I'm also experiencing that with my writing. I shifted writing projects, which I don't think I've talked about on here at all. And I'll just say this, I've been writing a novel. I'm 40,000 words into it. I'm nearing the midpoint of it. But I'm experiencing hiccups with that, this feeling of like, oh my God, this thing is so big and there are so many details. And even with the words that I've written so far, there are arcs in the story that haven't even been written in yet, and it's bothering me. And I've actually hit this midpoint, almost the midpoint of the novel, where I'm like, I'm losing steam because I didn't plant those seeds early on. And this is something that I encounter every single time I write a screenplay. So it's actually a huge relief to me to be like, oh, I can actually apply those skills from screenwriting to my novel and say, okay, this is the part where you go back and you work through it again, and you make sure that those seeds are planted so that when you continue on past the 40,000 word mark, you know where you're going emotionally. You're driven to write it. You're excited to write it. But man, I don't know. It's been a time of serious self-doubt. I have not wanted to be public. I have not wanted to be seen. And at this point, I'm so grateful that I've been through so much doubt in my life. I mean, like so much horrible, unbearable doubt that it's like, yeah, I know what I need. I know what I need, and it's a certain degree of privacy and to go through the shitty feelings of all of it. And that's what I've been doing. And I'm coming out the other side really excited, actually. It's been a great growth period. But again, it's this feeling of death in the air, of things falling away. And I've experienced that so much, especially in the last couple of years. Some of you know I've been in Wisconsin. I'm in Wisconsin right now. I lived in LA for a long time, 8 years. I was in California for about a decade. And I came back after a breakup. And I've been in Wisconsin much longer than I thought I would be. I've been here several years now. And things in my life continue to fall away. Relationships fall away, dynamics fall away. Even just like ways I was operating creatively, things I was passionate about that I'm not as passionate about now. So many things are just shifting, and it's so, you go through a grieving process, but it's also on the other side of that grieving process, there's so much to be excited about. And there's like this new energy coming in. And I was going through this dark period a couple weeks ago, and I had to remind myself, I was like, because I was asking myself, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not handling this well? Why am I feeling like I'm the worst painter in the world? I'm writing a shitty novel. It's too simplistic, or it's too complicated also, and I'm making it too dark, and it's supposed to be kind of like sweet. And what am I doing? And I was sick. I was really been battling a cold lately. I'm so much better now, but it just felt like weeks of dragging. And then it's this election. Oh my God, there's like so much going on. And I just had to be like, this is just a challenging time. I don't think that there's anything that I'm supposed to be doing differently. Because that's one of my favorite ways to torture myself, is to be like, what could you be doing differently, Rebecca? Like coaching yourself. And at a certain point, I guess this is what we call surrender. But I just had to be like, I don't fucking know. Like, I'm trying my best. All I can do is continue to write, or to take a break from writing and take notes. What do I want what do I want in the next direction with this? All I can do is keep painting and step back and just let myself be at this stage in painting. And it's almost been this feeling of like, I don't know, I'm in the flow of this life, and there are just, how much am I being carried, right? Like, how much am I just an animal in this world with everyone else? Like, it's certainly a feeling that I have with the election right now, and that's happening this week. Things are so tumultuous that we're all in the storm. And I've just been having to ask myself, well, if I'm in the storm, who do I want to be in the storm? And how do I want to show up in the storm? And how do I want to take care of myself and do my work in the storm? So that's kind of where I'm at. This feeling of like death and change in the air. And I do feel like I'm starting to get to the side of being like, yeah, I went through that darkness, and I'm on YouTube again. I'm willing to talk about it. But okay, so I just like stopped that because there, there's something I've been wanting to talk about, and I feel like gross and weird about talking about it. I also feel like it's really dark in here. Okay, I'm going to stop being self-conscious. I'm just going to talk about this. I've been going through all this like doubt and changing, but I also had a really interesting experience about a month and a half ago that I know is a part of this, and I know it's gonna feel like, what the hell, Rebecca? This doesn't have to do with what you're talking about, but like it does, okay? So, I was trying to like rehearse like in the shower how I was gonna talk about this, but like I don't even know. So, okay. Over a decade ago, I had a boss. I'm gonna try not to like reveal people because I just frankly don't want to deal with it. Over a decade ago, I had a boss, a man who was like, I was 25. I'm guessing he was like 50. I don't know. I loved him. Like, great boss, great family. I loved his wife. I loved his kids. Like, lovely family. I loved this job. And on my last day, I went to go get my paycheck, and I like gave each other a hug, and he held me really close to him and tried to kiss me, and I was like squeezing away, like trying to get out of his arms, and he like managed to catch me right here. And then he was like, "Can I kiss you again?" And I was like, no. And I just laughed, and I headed off to the car where my boyfriend was waiting for me. And it was such, I didn't even know if I should like preface this by saying like, trigger warning, but that's all that happened. Okay. And I thought it was frankly kind of hilarious at the time. My boss was not a threatening, scary guy. He was very sweet. He was very dopey, very insecure. I was always really nice to me. And Anyway, and I laughed with my boyfriend about it afterwards, and we were like, that was gross and weird. Ugh, yikes. And just moved along. And at the time, I just laughed it off. It kind of would go through my brain, and I would be like, okay, whatever. But as time passed, it just bothered me more and more and more. And I kind of tried to maintain a pretty friendly relationship with him, his wife, his family, but it just felt so gross. And I know you're like, why is she talking about this? Listen, it'll make sense. But anyway, I did not want to. It was just weird. It's just weird. It made me sad. I loved his wife. And I'm like, gross, don't do that to your employees. Just don't do that. And he was on my email list, my newsletter list. And periodically he would like email me in response to my newsletters over the years. I mean, again, this is well over a decade ago that this happened. This is a long time ago. And he would just like try to maintain this like friendly relationship with me online through email. And about a month or so, it might have been the morning of like, didn't we have a big eclipse recently? I don't know. But I had not slept well at all, and I was just crabby. And he sent me an email, and he made some joke about like creepy older guys, because I had written something, I don't know, a year or two ago on my Substack about like how I'd had a stalker at one point, kind of a stalker. And I just kind of snapped at this former boss, and I was just like, oh, you want to talk about creepy older guys? And I brought up what had happened when I picked up my last paycheck. And he responded being like, oh yeah, I'd always wanted to kiss you. And I was just like, okay, what the fuck? I'm actually trying to tell you that was so massively inappropriate to do to someone that you work with. And it's put me in this position that I'm so uncomfortable about with you guys. And like, don't do that to your employees. And of course that like unleashed like, oh my Lord, like, you're so self-centered. This is all about you. You know, he sent me this huge email of listing everything that was wrong with me. Like, if you weren't so secretive and sensitive, you would have brought this up right away instead of now, years later. You probably hate me. You're probably a narcissist. Like, I mean, you guys can see what's happening, right? Like all the shame that like that he didn't feel but should have at the time, like one big burst of like, it's your fault actually. And it's so funny because it was a sort of a wild experience to read this email and go like, wow, logically my brain can see exactly what's happening here. And it's sort of funny. Like, I can totally see what's happening. I'm not going to take this in. This doesn't bother me. Like, mentally, I'm like, listen, honey, I've done shadow work. My brain is like, I've got this, no problem. But I will tell you, like, my body, like my nervous system, my limbs went through this like physical pain for days after I got that email. And again, my brain is ping-ponging back and forth between like, it's like, I can see what's happening. Logically, I can see why he's reacting in this way. And trying to shift the blame on me, which is fucking ridiculous. And yet my brain is also like, maybe I shouldn't have brought this up. Maybe I'm being a drama queen, blah, blah, blah. And then my brain is like, well, no, I genuinely don't want him to email me as if we're friends anymore. It's just really uncomfortable. And I just hate that he did that to his wife and made me uncomfortable. So that ping-ponging back and forth, and then the feeling of I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I'm uncomfortable talking about it, but I think it's worth talking about. But I could feel it in my body. It just hurt, and I ended up getting sick afterwards. And yes, I got sick from the changing of the seasons, getting cold and getting chills. But I also know that I got sick because that was I felt like I'd been electrocuted. And again, mentally, the logical part of me was like, I know what's happening here with him, but also I think it's really funny, and sometimes I can almost feel the universe winking at me, being like, I'm gonna send you someone who gives you every single insult that you're worried about yourself, and the things that are wrong with you. Like, so wrong with you. But this feeling of like, oh my God, I'm too self-centered. Like, how many of us as artists, as creative people are like, I don't want to share my art. I don't want to be public. I don't want to have like professional photos taken of me and my work. I don't want to have to send the scary email. I don't want to have to learn how to talk about myself in a way that shows that I'm proud of the work that I do. Right? And that has been such a battle for me. So to get an email that's like, you're so self-centered, you're so selfish, you're probably a narcissist. And then I'm like, I'm the most sensitive person in the world. What the fuck's wrong with me? You're so sensitive. I'm too private. You're so secretive. Like, he went down the list, and I was just like, universe, I see you. I see what's happening. And yet anyway, I just had to go through this recovery period, but it was so fascinating. And just to follow that up, just to tie that up, I took about a week after he sent that, and then I emailed him back. I was like, okay, this is the one time I'm going to email you back about this. You know, I can see that you're going through all of this shame right now. I don't hate you. Honestly, I tried to be friends with you guys, but it's just really uncomfortable to me that you held me tight and tried to kiss me and wouldn't let me go, and it was fucking weird. But like, I don't hate you. I kind of try to be friends with you guys, but it's just uncomfortable to me. And I can see you're going through this shame, and I've been feeling ashamed and embarrassed by your behavior for over a decade, and I should never have felt that way. That's on you. It's on you. It's your behavior. All I did was be nice to you and work hard at this job. That's it. And I feel good about that cleans it up for me, I'm good. But I take a lot of walks when I'm writing, when I'm processing, just to clear my head in the mornings. And I've been thinking so much about being seen, about how we put ourselves out there as artists, as creative people, and how some of the biggest fears are the things that some of our biggest fears are that people in our lives, strangers online, sure, yes, of course, everyone, it's there, it's in the world. People are attacking each other left and right, especially lately, online. But when people in your real life hit you with the "you're selfish," "you're gross in some way" thing, when you're promoting your art, when you're excited about your own life, when you are making changes, whatever, when you're being joyful, when you're publicly being joyful, to have people in your life kind of attack you for that, or come out of the woodwork and say, "I don't like the way you're doing that. That's gross." It's so painful. And I have had that happen a number of times. And I mean, it happens when you stand up for yourself, like I did with this guy, or it can happen when you're doing something big. I had a relative absolutely lose their shit on me when I was raising money for a feature film that I wrote and directed and acted in called June Falling Down. And they were just sending me huge texts about what a disappointment I was, how selfish I was being. And I will say that these have been really brutal times in my life. And I know that a lot of artists of all stripes get worried about this. And it, from my experience, it does happen. People do get mad at you sometimes for pursuing your dreams. Only because you're triggering them, but it happens. And learning to face that and to receive it, not to like stay within it and like continue to have the conversation, which is a bullshit conversation, but to hear it and to go like, this is kind of as bad as it gets, right? To have someone say like, you are gross in all the ways that you're afraid that you are. You are terrible in all the ways that you're afraid. And to walk through that fire and to feel pretty fucking burned by it. And then to work through your mind what you know to be true and what you believe in about yourself. And to begin to recognize, wow, I can see the shame in other people come up when I'm happy, when I share about my work, when I'm proud of myself in public. You name it. To be able to see that, to be able to walk through that is weirdly one of the most confidence building things I've experienced. To go through the fire, to go through that sort of refinement, alchemy. I'm not saying you need to go out and encourage it. I'm not saying you need to go out and like be like, let's have these fights. But it's sort of cleansing. And I guess I just want to say, if you're going through that, if you're going through a lot of criticism from other people, that continuing to walk through it and to say, I'm going to figure out how to get right by me through all of this, it's the most incredible strength building experience. One of the most incredible strength building experiences that you can have is to be able to hold other people's criticism, especially people that you know in real life. And it's so interesting, we fear what people think, we fear what people say. But I will tell you that if you are afraid to take an action, if you're afraid to send a newsletter, if you're afraid to be on YouTube, if you're afraid to make the film that you want to make, to paint, to write, to record your album, whatever, and you are carrying in your head these things that people might say to you, especially people that you know, or people that are watching you online or whatever, you doing that thing might bring those people out of the woodwork to say those shitty things to you. But they're already thinking it. So by you taking the risk, by you doing something different, and by them finally saying it, it's not actually like anything has changed. They were already thinking it. What you're getting is clarity. What you're getting is clarity on whether or not people are on your side, on whether or not people are healed enough to be around you. It's okay to piss people off, and it's very good because it clears things up very quickly. And what it does when people start to tell you who you can or cannot be, like this guy telling me, you're selfish, you're self-centered, you're secretive, you're too sensitive. I mean, I will say, like, I feel like he told me what his internal rules are for himself, right? This is a guy who he's always had like a lot of shame. He doesn't like even hold his head up very high. Like, you can see why I'm like, it wasn't that scary of a situation for him to try to kiss me, but it still pissed me off. But it's like, he's just like kind of a dopey dude with no confidence. But I can see when you call me names. I can see what you don't think you're allowed to be in this world. You're not allowed to be selfish in a healthy way. You're not allowed to be self-centered. You're not allowed to be secretive and private. You're not allowed to be sensitive. I can see his rules for himself and how he's projected it onto me. And it makes people panic, right? It makes people panic when you act in ways that they won't allow themselves to act. Anyway, I hope this all wasn't too muddled of a video, but I was really on the fence about whether or not I wanted to talk about it or how I wanted to even start. But I hope it was clear. But I've been carrying that with me too. This feeling of like just being in a little bit of an internal uphill battle lately. But it's okay. It's really okay with me that it's been sort of a hard fall, because coming out on the other side of it, and I do feel like I'm really coming out on the other side of it, just like continuing to write, continuing to take notes on this novel, continuing to paint, even when I feel like I'm terrible, continuing to like take little baby steps in my life, continuing to work through the old shit that the universe presented me with on a platter. With this guy being like, I'm going to call you all the names that are going to make you feel bad and make you question everything and make you question whether or not you should even go on YouTube again. You know, you selfish girl. But it's been a blessing, even though it has felt dark and stupid and meandering and like I'm never going to get out of being stuck. I don't feel that way anymore. I'm so excited about my novel, which I have to tell you about. I'm going to tell you about it in a future video. I'm so excited about the paintings that I'm doing and the ways that I'm stretching. I'm excited to be back on YouTube. So hi, I feel like, God, I hope my hair wasn't making that microphone. Whatever. Listen, I am not a YouTube expert, but thank you for watching. Thank you. That was sort of scary to talk about, but it's not my fucking fault. It's not my fault that he was like, oh, young 25-year-old girl who's nice to me at work probably wants to make out with me. No. But anyway, everything kind of gives us a growth opportunity if we look for it. So, yeah. I will say, just thinking on this guy and thinking about the work that I want to do in the novel I'm writing and in sharing my art while I'm still learning my art and being on YouTube, it has really only reinforced for me that I really care about showing up as an imperfect version of myself, and I care about showing up in general. And as someone who has always been really afraid of being selfish, there is a certain degree to which we need to focus on ourselves so that our needs are met, so that we can be good in the world, and so that we can show up for other people with so much generosity. I have so much more generosity in me when I do take care of myself. And we have so much resistance to that, especially in women, and especially with artists who are not fancy or not big or not famous. Like, how dare you think that you have the right to market yourself, right? This is what we think. And yet, I think being in progress and sharing it is so liberating for other people. And I know that. And that helps me to be just a little bit braver, right? I creep along little inch by inch, getting a little braver every time. So thank you so much for watching. I hope, just take care of yourself over the election. And the results afterward. I'm going to be baking an apple cake with walnuts and brown sugar, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to keep writing, and I'm going to keep painting, and I'm going to keep YouTubing. And yeah, I'm excited to tell you more about it as we approach the end of 2024. Wow. Okay, thank you guys. Bye-bye.